Thank you very much indeed. Hello, good evening and welcome to Through the Keyhole, the show that invites you to make yourself at home in other people's houses, with Lloyd Grossman, the only person left in this country who still makes house calls. Now, tonight what we're going to do is, of course, to take the keys to two very interesting, remarkable homes of two well-known groups or families or people, go to each of those. And with Lloyd's help, then, we'll be bringing you a privileged peep behind closed doors. But the question is, whose? On our team tonight, to try and answer that question, we have a cartoonist, an actor, and a best-selling author. And here he is, Mr. William Rushton. And now our second guest. She is editor of You magazine. Or should that be, You is editor of She magazine. As they say in Fleet Street, if an angel could edit, she would look like Eve Pollard. And finally, Tiz was OTT, DJ, VIP, a man who's still an initial success, Chris Tarrant. Well, now let me tell you a little more about the game itself. With the help of these magic keys, we'll be taking a careful look inside two fascinating homes. And that should tell us something, maybe quite a lot, about the person who lives there. All that our friends here have got to do is to try and work out who that is. So let's join Lloyd Grossman at house number 1. And watch closely, because remember, the clues are there as we go through the keyhole.
This would appear to be the home of a fairly flamboyant person. Look at all these day-glow pink feathers and all this chrome glitter. It's definitely someone with a strong, perhaps even a violent personality. The kitchen, which is very basic and simple white, has been enlivened with a lot of touches of bright red. This person likes to be stimulated all the time. It's also someone who's got a fairly hippie-esque attitude towards nutrition. There's a big juice extractor, and there's a collection of herbal teas. And look at this magnificent pair of shoes. The gold and the black. This is someone who likes dressing up, likes going to nightclubs, perhaps. Look at this polyester zebra skin, for example. Now, the color red is obviously very important. There's a red carpet in here, a red desk, a red vase. This person isn't very highly organized. Nonetheless, it's someone who does work quite hard, because this is quite a compact little work area here with a typewriter and a card index and a library. There seems to be a slight interest in bodily parts here. We've got a sheep's head on one wall and a human's head on the other. Now, I've seen a lot of people with statues of horses, but never with a jockey riding a tortoise. Although this looks like the back seat of a 1957 Chevrolet hot rod, it's in fact the bed. It must be the only bed in the world that has to be made up with a pint of Brasso. And it shows that this person is definitely a member of the glitterati. I mean, look at all these clothes ranged around me. You can't exactly wear silver Lurex to buy a pint of UHT at the corner shop. So this person is definitely a party person. I can't imagine that whoever it is leads a normal, everyday life. It's someone with a strong vein of fantasy. Those hats ranged against the windowsill, for example. And what's that miner's lamp doing there? Now, you might be forgiven for thinking that this is a very elaborate salad. In fact, it's a wig, and once again, it shows the party fantasy aspect of this person's life. An ideal setting for the lover of city life. Let's look at the evidence. The party shoes, the rubber sheep's head, the tossed salad. What sort of person lives in a place like this? David, it's over to you.
Well, thank you very much indeed, Lloyd. And now, for our home and studio audience, here's whose home it is. Right, Willie, you have the evidence there. Begin your psychoanalysis, would you?
Well, I was quite interested in the sculpture of Lord Longford on the wall and a sheep's head, and how difficult it must be to tell between the two when you've had a few. And there was also a statuette of a person not unlike myself mounted on a turtle. I think it's someone rather strange, but I'm not quite sure whether they're in show business or dresses.
Right, so that's your choice between the two.
Yes.
Eve.
This is obviously who goes in for smuggling and wears falsies and puts all the diamonds and the watches in there. But then I saw the Doctor Who scarf and thought, perhaps this is Bonnie Langford, who's had his whole house painted to match her hair. So you know there was a lot of red. Then I thought, well, I saw the Brasso bed, and then I also saw that this person wears shoulder pads so wide they can't get their clothes in a cupboard. So perhaps it was a Joan Collins refugee type from Dallasty. I'm not sure, but I think someone very strange who obviously likes going out at night and likes shocking her neighbours in the daytime.
Chris.
There are all sorts of odd things there, like zebra skins, human heads, so it's someone who's a big game enthusiast, possibly a cannibal. There was this extraordinary bed in the lounge, as if they're obviously constantly in too much sexual excitement to actually ever get upstairs. So it's... And also they were a miner, so it's an ex-mining cannibalistic nymphomaniac. So that limits... that thins it down a bit. Yes. I think it's definitely a man, but rather an odd one.
Well, now, we've got one or two slightly contradictory views here, I think it's fair to say. Willie, what are you going to opt for? Who are you going to opt for?
I'm flirting with Jeff Boycott, but that's my affair. It could be that bizarre lady who dresses like her room. I mean, it actually looks like the room when she's walking about. But I can't remember her name.
Who? Sorry,
I have terrible gaps in my head. All the names appear to have fallen out. As I get older, I lose more and more names. But there is a startling woman, the sort of Mary Quant de nos jours, who dresses up like that. Or Mary Quant de nos jours.
Oh, right, now, right, Eve,
She's a good-looking Barry Humphries.
The audience have led you a little. Can you...
I think it's someone who doesn't need any forces hanging out behind the door. I think this is Molly Parkins.
Correct. Very good. It is indeed Molly Parkins coming through the keyhole. Come and sit. They got you. They got you. They worked it out.
I knew that Eve would get me.
Did you?
Yeah.
Well,
I
we
knew
were
as soon as I knew
close.
she was on the panel, because we have often compared our measurements, haven't we, when we were both still in Fleet Street? Is the neighbour that you were looking for, Willie?
No.
No, you were thinking it was Sandra Rose, weren't
That's
you?
the one.
Yeah.
That's the one.
Yes, yes.
I'll tell her you says that she's handsome.
Oh, she is.
She'll love it. Is red deliberate? I mean, is red for passion? Red for...
Yeah, it is. I find it very exciting, actually, red to wake up to. It gives you a lot of energy as soon as you open your eyes. And I have tried many colours, but they have either been white or black or red. It is an incredible colour to live with.
Strong, perhaps violent personality, he said. Likes to be stimulated all the time. That sounds like you too, doesn't it? Really?
Well, pre-menopause, I'm not like that anymore.
Well, you might as well take the bed back upstairs
I've
then.
given it all up. But there isn't an upstairs, you see. That is the bedroom.
Right.
Because that's a sofa bed.
It's a very large sofa bed, if I may
That's
say.
why I've given it all up, really, because it's such a bore. Having you get in there with a bit, then you've got to undo the bed and all of that. You see, if it's a sofa bed, it's too much bother.
But you have to undo it to sleep in it, don't you? What did you say, Chris? Yeah.
Said you've got to remember in the morning to give him his miner's hat back then.
You ought to have dressed up tonight, you know.
These are actually my curtains.
Yeah. Your
If
curtains.
you recognise, yeah, it's all pins. We did it in wardrobe. It's my curtains.
Well, you're looking wonderful. The apartment looks wonderful in red, and we would like, as a souvenir of our thanks, to present you with the Through the Keyhole key, gold
you.
key.
Is it
as
gold?
As it is.
What is
more or
it
less.
open?
It's the
Does it lead
path
to anywhere?
to Willie's heart.
Oh, Willie's
Lost his safe deposit, actually.
Yeah. Molly, thank you for being with us. We've got to take a break there, folks, but we'll come rushing back with house number 2 in our house search, with all of our thanks to Molly Parker.
Thank you very much.
Welcome back. Welcome back to Through the Keyhole. In our post bag this week, a letter from a viewer in Stafford who says she's always being misled by estate agents' language. Well, Mrs. Lee, here's a few phrases to watch out for. Quote, rustic situation. That usually means up 3 miles of impassable muddy carpet. Or would suit keen gardener. That usually means built on a bomb site. And would suit keen do-it-yourself enthusiast. That means ripe for demolition. We'll try and guide you on those through the series. But now, let's join Lloyd at house number 2. See if you can spot the clues as we go through the keyhole.
In spite of the flotilla loads of water-bound fun seekers, Thameside can be a pretty tranquil place to live. It's certainly the location of some of this kingdom's most des reses. When houses like this were built 60 years ago, they were dismissed as stockbroker Jacobean. Today, we appreciate them a bit more. Ye Great Hall is definitely of Henry VIII proportions. It has a warm and historic feeling that's no doubt helped by the fact that whoever lives here has gone back to the land in a big way. There's an old wood-burning stove in the fireplace, for example. There are many conventional country house bits and bobs here. For example, the frame school photograph on the wall and the statuette of the jockey. But these people actually have much more adventurous taste than that. There's a veritable picture gallery on the walls, and this good taste in art jars rather noticeably with the 2 appalling little Italian figurines on the mantel shelf. There's some very interesting stained glass here, and that contributes to the old-fashioned feeling. We've got Arthur and Guinevere and 2 characters out of Shakespeare. And get a load of that horse's head. Maybe the Godfather lives here after all. This hallway has been turned into a sort of mini library, and it's quite apparent that books are a very important part of this family life. But look at these parliamentary reports. Surely no one reads those for pleasure. So maybe there is some political connection here. But wherever one goes in this house, the draw of the river is very strong indeed. Keyboard mania is the theme of this bit of the room. There's quite a splendid piano here, a big synthesizer and a little synthesizer. And look at this, even the notepad is shaped like a piano. They either like music or they don't like elephants very much. This room is ideal for relaxing. Look at these 2 Chesterfields, perfect for slouching the night away on. There's quite an interesting collection of horny beasts here. Maybe someone in the house identifies with them, thinks of himself as being rather a hunky fellow. What's really important about this room is the splendid view of the river on 3 sides. It's ideal to sit here on a summer's day and watch the traffic go by. They're certainly well-traveled people. There's an amazing collection of matches from exotic locations, like the Westfield Country Club in Cottingham. And they appear to be quite thrifty as well. This is a very cozy family kitchen, even though there's a touch of grandeur provided by a large pitcher ready to be filled with Pimm's. It's got quite a down-to-earth farmhouse feeling to it. I see they've borrowed Lucretia Borgia's set of tea mugs. It's clear that these people like entertaining a lot. There's an enormous collection of plates here, so they must feed lots and lots of people. And I see that Dad likes to be pampered. He's got the only soft chair here. There's a remarkable collection of cookbooks, so they're obviously completely obsessed with food. After all, most of the rest of us might have a copy of The Joy of Sex. Still, looking at this book, I wonder if old Paulie is safe. Like the other rooms in this house, this bedroom has been very sympathetically decorated with a real feel for the period of this house. So it appears that whoever lives here is very keen on interior decoration and architecture. And I think that even though they get around a lot, they're really homebodies. Let's look at the evidence. The Godfather's filly, the keyboard mania, the exotic matchbooks, and the love of food. What sort of person lives in a house like this? David, it's over to you.
Thank you very much indeed, Lloyd. And now, for our home and studio audience, here's whose house it is. Chris has been assessing the audience reaction there.
Very difficult.
And he's about to be extremely wise.
It's someone very, 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 very rich. Sackfuls of money. So that limits it a bit. It's someone who eats enormous amounts of food, drinks a lot, reads political reports, and has a penchant for poisoning people. So it's someone who eats heavily, drinks hard. So it's a mad, poisoning politician who eats and drinks a lot. So that could be almost any of them.
But very rich.
Very, 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 very rich, I think, David. In fact, they probably made some more, even while we're sitting here talking.
Yes. How rich did you say?
Oh, sackfuls.
Eve.
Well, they may be very rich, but they seem like a couple who are slightly mismatched. He likes this very heavy stuff, the stone horses, and all this classy sort of Henry VIII stuff. And she likes those little Italianate figures and that sort of very delicate sort of four-poster bed. She's a romantic. It's worrying. They'll need lots of money, this couple. Of course, they're not in sport because they've got a lot of books and anybody in sport can't read terribly well. So I think those... I also think those parliamentarian sort of, those very heavy books are very useful as doorstops, or perhaps they use them to throw at one another if they're not poisoning one another with those mugs. There's a bullfighting aspect to it. All those bulls, those sort of rather horny animals. I think this is someone who fancies himself as a bullfighter, living on their own, or perhaps doing a bit of blithing outside on the river.
A bullfighter. Do you agree with that?
Well, it's terribly sexist, I suppose. It isn't it might be the wife who likes the bullfighting and the alligator horses' heads and the rest of it. It's the husband, perhaps, who likes the twee little bits of china and the Italian whatnots. I have no idea. I'm completely stuck here. Something like jockeys and horses' heads, but where was the rest of the horse's body? Is what concerns me. Probably eaten. Music, food, and parliamentary reports. And I was trying to think of musical MPs. Gypsy Rhodes Boyson. Possibly the famous stripper. Somewhere along those lines. But I agree with Chris. It is somebody with a good deal of money, which they may well have come by dishonestly. It could be one of our top criminals. I mean, one of those people you see on those city things you get. If you have any shares, you receive these things. It's quite clear that the pictures are taken by Interpol. You're never surprised when a fraud squad moves in. This could be the sort of person I'm looking for.
Chris, now zero in from your masterly exegesis.
Yes, we didn't explore falling in love regularly with chickens much either, did we? But that probably wouldn't have helped. I think it's Jeffrey Archer. See, it went down.
Good.
I think it's Jeffrey Archer.
Yes. Now, I thought we'd have a good reaction there, and we did.
Yes.
It indicates it's not Jeffrey Archer. So you've got to cross off Jeffrey Archer.
Cross off, right.
Probably not Molly Parkin anymore either.
No, Leonard Parkin, maybe. But...
Yeah. Ah.
I thought it might be Harry Seacombe.
Now, that's an interesting thought. Now, you see, there's
a little flutter there.
I wouldn't call that a standing ovation, but... but I would say it was a mini Ripollette, right?
Mini Ripollette.
So, therefore, Willie, you have a mini Ripollette.
Leaves you nowhere, does it? Which bit were they applauding? His Welshness, his gooniness, his knighthood?
No, none of those. So perhaps it was his...
A singer. Do you think it's a singer?
A singer. Ah, the singing Harry.
A singer?
A singer. That's
singer,
why they went for Harry Seacombe, you see. They were trying to help you, Willie.
horse's head, a large singer, obviously.
It's not Vince Hill, is it?
You've done it! She's done it! It's Vince Hill coming through the keyhole.
Got that right out of the blue.
Well,
Right out of the blue there.
our panel have done 2 out of 2. That's amazing.
I thought Vince Hill was the address.
Most people think it's a 1 in 4 gradient up the M1.
But that was very good, because you got it step by step.
Yeah.
The audience helped you. The Geoffrey Archer guess was a good guess because of those parliamentary
Well, I don't
reports.
have quite as much money as him, I'll tell you, that's for sure.
But the parliamentary reports that were on the top of the bookcase, were they there for a reason?
They were, they led you astray a little bit. Actually, a friend of ours is in Parliament, and it wouldn't be fair to say who it was, but from time to time he does give...
We never name guilty politicians.
No, he does from time to time give them to us to read, and they do make very amusing reading, and in actual fact they didn't shoot in the loo. Had they have done, you'd have seen shelves of them in there, because they're terrific for reading in there.
And the joy of cooking, is it your cooking, your wife's cooking? Or
Well, we
everybody?
both cook a lot, and my wife always says, I mean, I cook a lot because our roles are somewhat changed, you know, at home. She really looks after a lot of my business and so on, and so for relaxation to me, I cook. It's a great relaxation. I love it. Anne always says it's self-defence, but it isn't. She's a fine cook herself. But the joy of chicken, I don't know where he got that one from. It's a beauty.
And what about plants, too? You're very into plants, too, aren't you?
Yes, since we moved to the river, what tends to happen is there is a big garden there, but it's mostly lawns and hedges and flower beds and things. And I see a nice day, and if I'm off, I think, am I going to go and dig over the garden or mow the lawn and break my back, or am I going to take a bottle up the river and get lost somewhere, and the river wins every time?
So you don't have time to talk to plants or anything?
No, I don't talk to very many people at all when I'm there, I tell you, I do. We get off up the river and we just enjoy ourselves, and the one luxury we don't have on the boat is a phone. I've not succumbed to the phone on the boat yet.
What's the boat called?
It's called, should I say it? Well, most people know it on there anyway. It's called Memsahib. Yeah. You know what that means in Hindu? It means boss lady. Make up your own mind about that.
Well, boss lady or no boss lady, Memsahib or Saab, we'd like to give you both this souvenir. It's the golden through the keyhole key, which says, thank you for sharing this time with us and your home with us. We appreciate it very much indeed, Vince. Thank you very much to Vince. Thank you to our panel here, the glorious Chris Tarrant, the beloved E. Pollard, and the unmistakable Mr. William Rushton over there, to Lloyd Grossman, our house detective, and of course to both of our proud homeowners, to Vince Hill and to Molly Parkin, and to all of you. Thank you. Here's to the next time. Good night. Thank you. Thank you.
Are you nosy? I'm just asking because if the answer's yes, you might want to play as Lloyd Grossman goes through the keyhole. That's next and new on Challenge. Then you can't beat a bit of bully, so we're going to step up to the hockey, weekdays at 5 for Bullseye.